Hey book lovers, I'm Ashley and welcome to Bound by Fantasy, a channel all about books and bookish things. Today we're going to talk about annotating Iron Flame. Okay, so Kendall and I have been doing an annotation challenge with our friend Andrea, and I am on the last book that I have annotated for that challenge. So I started with Harry Potter. That was the one that I chose, so if you haven't seen that one, you can go ahead and go back and watch that. Then I annotated Fourth Wing, and then finally I've done Iron Flame. So Iron Flame is the second book in the Imperium series, and it's by Rebecca Yarros. Third book is coming out, which is Onyx Storm this year, so if you haven't seen it already, check it out. Maybe look into Fourth Wing before that one comes out and read the first two. Okay, so let's talk about annotating. So this one, all of really the books that we annotated a little bit differently, and this one I would say like also follows that pattern. This one had, I think, a lot more tabs than the other ones did, and something that I thought was kind of funny with this one was Kendall and Andrea had so many things that they wanted to put on the tabs that they actually gave me like big post-it notes so that I could have a little bit more room to write things if I wanted to. I actually ended up not using them. They are super, super cool though, because they're see-through and you can actually see through them on the pages. I didn't use them just because I was the third person annotating, so I found that I had enough space to write things, but because they were writing quite a bit on some of the pages and they were a little bit earlier reading this, I think it totally made sense to do that. The only thing that I would say was a little bit more annoying about using the larger ones was that, for example, like this page, there's writing over the actual words, so I kind of had to like lift it and like pull it off and read it and then sort of put it back, which was fine. It just sort of was a little bit more challenging to read a little bit. But it was super interesting, and it was nice to see like a little bit more than just a little snippet of what they would have put if they had put it in the margins. So that was really fun. So this book was super interesting to read. I also was glad that I had read Fourth Wing as like my most recent read before that, because I got to go right into this one, and honestly I probably would have done that regardless if I hadn't been annotating, because I love this series. It's also interesting, like, just seeing everyone's comments versus in the other two. When I did them, Harry Potter, I was the first person reading it. Fourth Wing, I was the second. And actually, when we started reading these ones, I said, what would be really interesting is if we actually get to read the second book again, or at least see the annotations in the second book that we commented on. Because I wouldn't get to see those final comments. I loved being the third person reading this book, especially I think one, because it was the biggest book. So I got to see everyone's comments on the entire thing, and it was much longer, so it was a lot more involved to annotate. And I'm actually really excited. We are going to switch the books back to be able to read the comments on the second book. The original book that we got, obviously I'm going to get that back anyway because that's the one I chose, so I will get to see that one again. But I was very excited to see the entire annotation for Iron Flame, and I'm really excited to be able to have the chance to look at Fourth Wing too. So overall, this book, I have now read this one. This is my second read. Fourth Wing I've read 3 times now. Every time that a new one of them has come out, I just reread Fourth Wing. And I really enjoyed it. It was super fun to read them all, and it was also like very interesting to see where we were tabbing. The other thing too is this happened with Harry Potter, but it didn't happen with Fourth Wing. Apparently I like to highlight a lot. So my highlighter and my pen both died while I was doing this one. Highlighter in particular. So I actually had to switch partway through, and thankfully I had a pen that was a pretty similar color, so and a highlighter is pretty similar color, so I just sort of switched and used that color, and it looked very, very similar. It just had a little bit of like sparkles to it as well. So it kind of stuck with the same thing. For each of these, every time that we are annotating, we put the tabs that we used for that, our name and what those tabs meant. And then the different colors that we had that we use. So that way when we go back, we can see who was commenting on each. I love having the key in the books. I think that's like so nice, because if I was looking to figure out, you know, who wrote what or what was the additional comments, it was really nice. And it was so great to see, because Kendall had read this one first, Andrea read it second, and then I read it third, Kendall's initial comments, and then Andrea replying to those comments, and then I got to reply to both of their comments. I know there was like one part, there was actually a couple of parts in the book where Kendall had maybe asked a question and Andrea answered it. And so that was really neat to see that we had like this interaction going on while we were annotating this book. So I really, really enjoyed annotating this one. I do enjoy these books. I love Iron Flame and Fourth Wing. And Iron Flame, I think you get different character development throughout it. So at the beginning, I'm maybe a little bit like less of a Xaden fan kind of toward the beginning, and then, you know, I get a little bit frustrated with him, but then like I just love Xaden overall, so honestly I don't get that frustrated with him, but Andrea and Kendall got very frustrated with him. So it was kind of funny to see like their reactions, our reactions to like Jack Barlow and things like that. So it was just really interesting to see like our reactions to the characters, the different character development, characters that, you know, maybe you lose throughout the book, or, you know, that her relationship has sort of changed and her friendship with them has changed. I think something that was the most frustrating with me was just her communication with her friends. She was hiding a lot from her friends for a long time. And I think all three of us, it was very frustrating. So it was kind of nice to know that like I was in good company, that I wasn't the only one frustrated by those things. And then also just things that we sort of picked up on this one that we think might be related to Onyx Storm. So Onyx Storm is going to be coming out at the end of January. I think actually some people are getting like releases very soon here. So I'm really excited to read that one. And I think that annotating and reading these in particular was just so helpful before getting the chance to read Onyx Storm. One, just sort of as a refresher beforehand, but also there were so many things that we were like noticing. We were guessing what her second signet might be. Looking at different like references to possibly other signets, or like even like her initial signet and things that sort of appeared throughout the book, and references to like onyx throughout the book here. It was super fun to see, and had I not seen other people's comments, I think I wouldn't have noticed as much too. There were things that, you know, I picked up on that they both didn't, and then there were also things that they picked up on that I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a good point. I'm so glad you pointed that out, or you showed that. So I definitely think that like this was a great series to choose for this annotation challenge. Because we're also reading that third one. I feel like because we're going to be all three of us reading that one this month, and it'll be a brand new book, and we're going to, you know, read it for the first time, it's going to be super exciting to have, you know, had the chance to dive so deeply into this book and the previous two books. I think that, you know, I'll remember them a lot better. Either way, I was going to reread them, but I think, you know, when you annotate, you really focus a lot more and have to pay more attention. Something else that I did with this challenge that I didn't do with this book in particular, that I didn't do with the other two, was this book is longer, so it just was taking me a while to get through it. And although, like, honestly, I was powering through it really, really quickly. I read it in just a couple days. I just get so addicted to this book that I just love it. So I didn't want to like stop reading at any point, but you know, life happens. I have to work and I have to do other things, and I got to clean my house and stuff. So something I did with this one that I thought was interesting for the annotation challenge, and I think was actually really helpful, was I actually about halfway through rented the audiobook from the library. And so what I would do is I would listen to a chapter in the audiobook, and then I would go in and sort of not like reread, but sort of like skim it in the book, and I would make all my annotations that I wanted to. And honestly, I think that was like really great. It was almost like I was getting like a double read. I was hearing it and then I was reading it. And I would notice things because I heard it or because I was reading it after. So that was actually a really interesting way to annotate that I didn't do before. And like I said, I only did it for about half the book, but I actually really enjoyed that. I find that for the other books, it was taking me a really long time to sort of read and annotate at the same time. like reading the physical book. And I think it's just because I had to keep stopping. Like I had to read a couple sentences, then I would stop and write something, read a couple sentences, stop and write something, or flag something, or, you know, tab it, which I think can be fun, but I actually really, really enjoyed doing the audiobook with it. And like I said, I still kind of like read those pages as well physically, but I kind of got like to dive deeper into maybe the parts of the book that I wanted to dive deeper into. But I got that initial like read through, like hearing the characters' voices, which was really cool. So another like interesting way to do the annotation, that, you know, maybe if I did this again, I would consider doing. Obviously not all books have an audiobook adaptation, and also it's, you know, is it available is the other question. Thankfully it was available exactly when I wanted it, and I was able to just flip to the chapter I was on. The other thing too was like sometimes I wanted to physically read it, so I would just mark where I was in, like I would look at where I was in the audiobook, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm on chapter 37, and so I would jump to chapter 37. And then I'd read maybe like 4 chapters, and I'd be like, all right, where did I leave off? And then I would listen to the audiobook. For some people, maybe that would be a little too chaotic, but I actually really, really enjoyed it. It was fun to sort of flip back and forth and then kind of hear it first and then think about what I wanted to annotate versus like having to do it as I'm going. I just felt like I was able to maybe concentrate more on the story and the characters and then think, okay, what do I want to write about this? So possibly something to consider if you have thought about doing an annotation challenge. I think overall the entire annotation challenge was really fun. I did enjoy it. I will say after doing it for 3 months, I am kind of ready to just read without annotating for a while. I think I would annotate again. But I do think I want like a little bit of a breather to just like read without that annotation. It does take a little bit more time, but I absolutely did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun doing it. So, if you've ever done an annotation challenge, you've ever thought about doing it, maybe try it out. Let me know in the comments below, you know, have you done this before? If so, did you just physically read the book? How did you annotate? You know, when I talked about Harry Potter, we didn't use tabs in Harry Potter, but I used stickers throughout Harry Potter and just highlighted and wrote notes. In Fourth Wing, we used the tabs, then we highlighted and wrote. And then in this one, we had the like larger Post-it note tabs and the smaller tabs as well, which was really fun. So honestly, each of them got different annotations. So, you know, what have you done? Have you ever tried annotating? Are you considering doing it? And what do you think would be like the most fun for you? Again, we're not doing this as kind of like homework. We're doing it for fun and just to enjoy, you know, having that experience together as friends. So I'm excited to, you know, switch books back. I want to read Fourth Wing and sort of just read the comments of that one, and then we're going to pass them back to the original person. And I'm super excited to see what Harry Potter looks like now because I'll get my book back soon. So if you liked what you saw, please subscribe, hit the bell, and join our community of fellow bookworms, because here at Bound by Fantasy, the adventure never ends. All right, see you next time. Have a great day.